hello. Welcome to the AppleInsider Podcast and Happy New Year. Is it too late to say? I've said it now. Good to be back with you for the start of 2026. I'm William Gallagher. Our sponsors this week are Clean My Mac by MacPaw, Copilot Money, Anti-Gravity and Tempo. More about them later. And I'm joined, as ever, by Wes Hilliard. So, in fact, Wes, happy new CES. Are you glad to be back and in deep with the Consumer Electronics Show news?
Well, I will say that I agree with Larry David about there being a time limit on how long you can say Happy New Year. And honestly, we're probably past it. But for the listeners, it is our first time discussing anything since our pre-recorded shows for the end of the year. So Happy New Year to you. Hope everyone had a good holiday. CES. It used to be more important and useful and interesting, and now it's just sad. I'm fairly certain almost every image I saw of CES was robots laying face down on the floor.
Okay. I do want to ask you things about that. You could actually say that I think maybe this year less than usual. Apple still had... It's like it had a presence at CES, despite the fact that it never has any presence at all there. Apple doesn't do CES, thank you. But every firm there kind of seems to react to Apple, or at least it used to. So for this week's AppleInsider Plus, right, we're going to be looking ahead. We're going to be looking at how, or I suppose, if Apple reacts to its rivals at all as we go through what we can expect from Apple in 2026. And I should say, if you're not already an Apple Insider Plus subscribers, do join us. You get the extended edition plus no adverts, and it's so simple to do. You can join us through either Apple Podcast subscriptions or Patreon. Either way, it'll be so good to have you. But now, seriously, this is CES week, and honestly, Wes, I thought you and I had very different opinions about it. I thought you were much more pro-CES than I am.
Well, I like that it exists. I mean, it doesn't even feel like there's a show anymore to say anything. Like, I know there's these keynote things. I used to actually watch them. Now I don't even know when they air. It just doesn't even feel important. And I don't ever, I'm like, oh, well, if I follow enough people, I'll hear about the important stuff. And then it's a ghost town. There's nothing to see. There's nothing to know. CES used to be like, I compare it to E3. There was these giant industry shows across the first half of the year, one for technology, one for video games. And just as E3 disappeared a decade ago, CES seems to be on its way out because the industry's moved on. People want to have their own private conferences. Even OpenAI is having its own private announcement events. We're seeing these companies, the web is so easy now, and filming good video and capturing good audio is so easy and inexpensive now that these companies just do their own thing, and CES is less important. So now we're basically down to, well, I go to a lot of conventions like anime, comic book conventions, and I feel like it's in Las Vegas. It's crowded. It's going to be COVID central, but that still doesn't change the fact that this is now a B-level tier kind of con. It's just these little tent rooms full of desks where you can go see sad robots being depressed. And I don't know. It doesn't feel the same as it did a few years ago.
Well, that's a nice cheery start to the... My position has always just been there are thousands of products launched there that sound incredible and they never actually come out. So the game for me is what percentage of this stuff will ever be released. And it's always been very, very low. But you remind me of Macworld now, which used to be when... in fact, there were 2 Macworlds a year back in the day. And at least in the January one, that's when Apple would make its big announcements. And then it pulled out for exactly that reason, the ability to do it itself, and not just technically able to do it, but also then able to schedule to suit itself. So rather than have to get something ready to somebody else's calendar date, Apple could choose their own. And as soon as Apple pulled out, you knew that was the end. Macworld limped on for a while. It was still fun in a lot of ways. I never got to go, unfortunately. And now it sounds like I'll never get to go to CES, fortunately. But there were some things, weren't there, this year? Something good.
the
No?
thing about CES this year in particular, I mean, in past years, the gimmicks have always been there. I enjoyed seeing these companies build scale models of houses and showing cars pull up on stage, and how the future of the home is going to have these robotic butlers, and those were always fun. But
Mm.
increasingly, it's tilted towards different things, and again, those bigger industry guys have stepped away. I think the PlayStation car made a return this year, which is just such a silly concept on its own right. But otherwise, yeah, we're seeing a lot of the same. Android smartphones, uh, general appliances, smart toilets, smart showers.
Okay.
The
Right.
the keyword of the year, of course, is AI, and I pretty much ignored everything that had AI anywhere near it because it's all basically predestined for the trash can. This stuff, it doesn't work. It's not going to do what it's supposed to do. California just put in a law banning for the next, I think, 7 years, the sale of any toy with AI in it to children. It's just interesting that they're pursuing this concept that is on its outset of basically a failure of imagination, because we just named it poorly. But I just saw a metric today showing that ChatGPT has saw its first 2 months in a row decline since its inception, and the decline this past month, year over year for this month, was over 50% from 2024. So that's pretty incredible. Different in user base. Yes, they still get millions, if not billions, of users, but the signs are showing, the cracks are showing. People are exhausted of this stuff, and CES is the sign of the death throes of the AI industry as we wait for this bubble to pop.
Wow. I can say I did see a headline that appeared to say there was an AI fridge. And so I went back and I looked, yeah, it really is. But I didn't bother listening any further because the same paragraph then was going on about the toilets, like you mentioned. And I truly don't want to know about an AI toilet, but I'm honestly a tiny bit interested in AI. Well, not AI, in smart bathroom mirrors that tell you things while you're shaving and cutting yourself shaving.
Well, maybe the kind of mirror, if I could have it show me Apple News feeds or something. I don't know. Like, are you thinking of text appearing on the screen, or is it going to tell you that you have a blemish or something?
Oh, I wouldn't have time to read all the stuff about my blemishes. So, yeah, news text. Although, if I'm the second person to use the shower, it's all misted up from the first person. So it may not be useful at all. But the odd headline, while you... I mean, what is it? 2 minutes to brush your teeth. It takes me 3, 4, 5 to shave on a shaggy day. That's a lot of minutes to not be connected and finding out what's going on. And I feel you're not taking me seriously anymore.
Humans need to learn how to be bored again.
Yeah.
We really need to learn how to be without for minutes at a time, even seconds, without opening a TikTok and scrolling. No, so just to be more specific, CES, if you cut away the rough edges of weird AI garbage and useless technology that'll never see the light of day, funny enough, what you're left with, maybe it's just our beat, but it does seem to be very Apple oriented. We have a lot more Matter devices, which can come to Apple Home. You have a lot more tech that is made for iPhones specifically. We have MagSafe devices, which now work with Samsung select devices, I think Pixel Lock, right, and Apple's MagSafe. So we're seeing more of that, which again affects Apple tangentially and increasingly so as these other vendors basically just leave CES. So it is, weirdly enough, increasingly an Apple conference, an iPhone conference, without them ever showing up. But Pebble, right, a direct reaction to the Apple Watch, coming out with their smartwatches, which I'm okay. I'll never own. Again, I owned the Pebble before the Apple Watch, but I don't need one now. Why things are still making scales that scan your body, and that creeps me out a little bit.
Yes.
We have a shower that with a mirror on it that also has a camera, or not a camera, but a infrared sensor that will tell you about your hygiene. I don't know. There's some very odd things here, but what stands out to me is more batteries, devices, accessories, more intelligent home, more intelligent charging solutions. And I think one thing that stood out to me was the Clicks keyboard returning.
Now, I was going to ask you about this because I wasn't sure whether I'd seen it at CES or somewhere else, but this is a thing that you have tried on an iPhone before, and I think you loved it for at least a minute, but now it's come back as better, presumably.
So there's two devices. One is a MagSafe connected keyboard that slides out, which I find very interesting. I want more companies to think of ways to implement MagSafe. I think this modular ecosystem is very smart, and bringing this keyboard to MagSafe means now that unless Apple dramatically changes MagSafe or makes the camera bump too strange to adapt to older devices, it's a good solution. I have the Clicks keyboard that I tested before. I can't use it because it was made for an iPhone 15, I believe. No. But the problem is you don't want to have to buy a new $200 keyboard case attachment every time, $100, I don't know, every time you want a keyboard that's physical. Having it be MagSafe is interesting. I don't know what the weight distribution looks like. I don't know how it feels to hold or type with. I feel like it would fatigue your fingers pretty quickly, but it's something I would want to try and maybe review in the future. But the second device is a standalone Android phone that's basically a BlackBerry.
Okay. So it's an Android phone.
Kind of.
Android phone with a physical keyboard. Right.
But you're meant to pair it with your iPhone and use it as a dumb device. You're not meant to use it for anything other than basically receiving information from your iPhone and typing to it from that device. It's a periphery, but it has a display and runs Android. It's a very confusing product, and honestly I feel like it was always the end result of Clicks that they would just make their own phone-like device, but a little silly to me. But hey, if you want it, it's probably going to be a collector's item at the very least.
Okay, I'm not as taken with that, but I'm intrigued about this MagSafe Kicks, that thing, that MagSafe thing, because a couple of days ago I wrote some news story about a games controller that I don't think was MagSafe, but it connected to the bottom. Yeah, it connected through USB-C. It was do you pronounce it 8-bit do or 8-bit do? I don't know.
I believe it's 8-bit do, like Taekwondo.
Oh, right. As in, what's the animal that's a doe? A deer. A female deer. Stop me. That seemed to me like a good use of holding phones from the bottom. It didn't seem to get in the way I thought games controls on either side did. It's like you could just knock it on when you want it and not fiddle about too much. I mean, I don't play games, so I don't know how practical the smaller size is. Is that something that appeals to you in a similar way to MagSafe, or?
MCon, Andrew got a hold of one of these, but they came out with a MagSafe slide-out controller, but for the horizontal view, not the vertical view. I really like these MagSafe attached devices. Honestly, I want to collect them all just to kind of have, because, again, they're modular, they're fun, they let you have a little bit of choice. If I'm going to play a Game Boy game, I might grab that controller, but then MagSafe lets you turn your iPhone horizontal or vertical on while the controller is ejected, so it works on many levels in many ways, and I just find it interesting. For example, with the Clicks keyboard, you can now more easily type on iMessage horizontally on an iPhone because the keyboard isn't obscuring your display, and you can still see the whole chat. But there's I'm constantly randomly reminded that some apps work horizontally on iPhone, and I just never use them that way, and it's like, oh yeah, you can do that, and then I rotate my phone back the right way and keep using it.
I think I do it more than you, because I read a lot of scripts, and they get reformatted in a slightly weird way, some of them anyway, when you're reading vertically, and yet turning horizontally, it just Yeah, I actually find it an awkward shape to hold the phone. I mean, I hold my iPad
Do you
in
think
landscape most of the time, but
do you think it would be better if the iPhone was more squat and square?
I like the size of screen I've got.
Hmm.
Maybe if it folded out into a square thing. Yeah, let's not go there. Well, actually, no, I'll tell you what, I was saying that because you don't think foldables are a good idea, and I'm much more intrigued. But this definitely was at CES, and actually it was the only thing I saw that made me think, well, read more than the headline, really. Samsung, they kind of showed off, I think that's the phrase, a screen that's foldable but is creaseless or crease-proof. They didn't actually seem to have it in a device you could buy. But there's a strong chance that it is exactly the screen that Apple is going to use in the iPhone Fold, if that ever releases. I was looking at the photographs of this. I haven't seen any video yet. It looked great in the photographs. Have you seen it? And are you back on board with foldables?
It's interesting. We heard from people that Samsung has been working on. I mean, everyone in this industry has a vested interest to get this done. So we know they've been working on this since the day they introduced a foldable with a crease in it. They're like, oh yeah, that's probably something we need to get rid of. But seeing it on a table at CES where no one can touch it, maybe there was a demo where you could go fold it and play with it, but what I saw is it's laying on a table next to a non-creaseless display, and it's like, look, creaseless, and it's like, great, it's a museum. We've seen stuff like this at CS before. I want to say 2014 was the first time we saw a phone rolled into a scroll.
Right.
Just because it's present on the CES show floor doesn't mean it's coming anytime soon. And honestly, especially if it's on the CES show floor, means it's not coming anytime soon. These companies like keeping their stuff close to their chest to some extent. I know Samsung and Google are more cavalier with their releases, but if it was close to release, it would not be on that show floor. It would be in a device being announced for ship, and it is definitely not ready for prime time. I can guarantee you.
Oh, that's a depressing point. I was just thinking, I have this rule that anything at CES won't be released, and yet here I am excited about something, and now you've put me right about it. But that thing, the way you saw the two things side by side, it was labelled as a crease test, and so I had originally thought, yeah, you could go in and fold it in three, but no, it does seem to be just the
maybe you can.
one.
I wasn't there. I can't tell you, but
Well, true.
Either way, it's a museum, and who knows? We'll see. It's not that I don't like foldables. I'll reiterate, they're cool as a concept goes. Their usefulness is in question because it's kind of like, I don't know, someone inventing the stove after the microwave, right? We already have what comes next. But we'll see where these things go, and I still think now that we're in the new year, we're going to start seeing things slip a little bit, but who knows?
I believe you on the slipping. To be clear, we've already got the thing comes next. Your argument for that has been before that we have Apple Vision Pro, and I'm much less keen on that than you. I believe you're right, because you're the one who actually uses it, and I've had an entire 40 minutes under one. But still, because it isn't something you can just take out and work anywhere with, or at least
it's complicated.
Safely.
It's multiple things. It's not just that spatial computing is the future, which I do believe it is. Maybe not in its current iteration, but it will ultimately get there. The difference being, what do people want from a smartphone? Now, nerds will tell you that they love a foldable, and they'll go out and spend all their money on one, and they have. Like, the market has existed for 7 years. I think we're still at about 3% market share on foldables. So someone is buying them, not very many people, but they're not really answering the question of what is it for. It's like, okay, so pitch me on it. Well, you have a device you can fold in half and stick in your pocket, so it's a little bit smaller and portable, and it basically ensures that a tablet is pocketable. And then on some of them, they have an external display, so you can still interact with it without unfolding it. And then it's like, well, but what's the point of the external display if the point of it is unfolding? It's like, well, it's more convenient. So it's inconvenient to unfold the phone. Well, it takes a moment. And it has to boot in, and then you have to, well, see, like it, the minute you start talking about these things, I understand. I've met people who use them. They love it. They are full on fanatics. Every single one who has bought one has to be, because they invested a small fortune into it. But at the end of the day, you're trading convenience for convenience. Yes, it's thin, it's light, it probably has a decent battery, but at least on Android, the operating system is not made for this. The apps are not built for this. It is a compromised software ecosystem on top of a compromised hardware ecosystem where things are more fragile and easy to break and have these inconsistencies in design, all for a tablet that is maybe the size of an iPad mini, which again is pocketable. So I don't understand the point other than it just being neat.
I don't really care about the neatness, but you do remind me once when 5G came to the iPhone, somebody was very seriously telling me it was the only good thing about the iPhone, because otherwise you can't do anything on those things. Now you can't do anything faster, and that's good. And I thought the circular logic there. I get that people are into the technology, but for me, it's that ability. It's most of the time it's an ordinary phone. When I sit down and want to do some more work, then I can pull it out and do more. So we'll have this discussion again, I'm sure, but certainly if the Fold comes out in September.
If we could defy the laws of physics, and make a device that is like a foldable TARDIS, and it's bigger on the inside than it is on the outside without weighing anymore, right? Like, great, let's do it. Let's shove an entire spaceship inside of this iPhone. It's not how it works. You're doubling the size and thickness of this device, and thus the folded version of that device is now less usable because it is heavier than its counterpart. And then you open it into a tablet and it's compromised because it has a hinge and an operating system that isn't built for that function. It's a series of compromises. Now, I'll close on this again, just saying here in the new year, if anyone's going to do this right, I would say it's Apple. Maybe they'll pitch it well. Maybe they'll have the technology built. Maybe I'll be on here raving about how I'm going to buy one in September. We'll see. But as the technology exists today, if Apple was to release one like Android's, I would not be interested in it. But this is Apple we're talking about. They're not going to just throw out a device and say, here's your foldable. So
I should record this section and keep it ready for September. This episode is brought to you by Clean My Mac by MacPaw. MacPaw's CEO has been a guest on the AppleInsider podcast before, and I've often talked about the firm's setup, but this time, let me enthuse about Clean My Mac. It's on my Mac Studio in my office and my MacBook Pro on the road, and that actually the many things it does for me. I need it most because I really don't have enough storage on either machine. When you run Clean My Mac, it checks over that storage space and invariably finds gigabytes that can be just thrown away. Duplicate downloads, for one thing. It is startling how often I get duplicate downloads. But now, Clean My Mac does the same thing on your cloud accounts, whether that's iCloud or OneDrive or Google Drive. It checks for junk, it checks for duplicates, it shows you what space is being used and lets you decide what to keep and what to delete. Clean My Mac is constantly monitoring my Mac for junk like that, but also for threats and for performance. It all keeps my Mac tidy, which keeps it running fast and which keeps me from having to spend time searching for how to save some space or from spending more money on extra iCloud storage space. It does this for me, and it can do it for you. Get tidy today. Try 7 days free and use my code AppleInsider20. That's AppleInsider20 for 20% off at cleanmy.com. Cleanmy spelled CLNMY. Cleanmy.com/AppleInsider. And note that Apple Insider there must be in all uppercase. So that's CLNMY.com/AppleInsider. And thanks to MacPaw for supporting the Apple Insider podcast. This episode is brought to you by Copilot Money. Start 2026 with clarity and with confidence over your finances. Next week, by the way, I have a meeting with my accountant here to go over what I've got to do here in the UK because of various tax law changes, things like that. And this is not what I got into business to do, but it has to be done. Copilot Money is a finance app whose developers recognize that we're busy, but also that we are just all different in how we even think about our finances. Copilot Money aims to help you and me be in control regardless of our situation and our preferences, because it's comprehensive, but it is also entirely customizable, which means you can use the elements that you need and not be overwhelmed by countless options that just don't apply to you or your needs. Copilot Money is easy to use, easy to customize, and so much so that it's an Apple Design Awards finalist. With Copilot Money, you can monitor accounts and set up saving goals, and do it across the Mac, the iPhone, the iPad, and the web. For example, I used to put off finances. I'll do it when I get back to my Mac, I'd say. And yeah, you can guess how well that worked out. But with Copilot Money, if you think of something you need to add, you can just reach for your nearest device, whichever it is, wherever you are. And while entering your transactions, for example, is quick and easy, Copilot Money also takes what you enter and uses AI to automatically categorize everything so you can see where your money is going. Try Copilot Money free with a 1-month trial on iPhone, iPad, Mac, and web. Plus, for a limited time, you can get 26% off your first year when you sign up at copilot.money/AppleInsider and use the code AppleInsider at checkout. That's copilot.money/AppleInsider and then the code AppleInsider at checkout. New users only, web only. Start the new year with clarity. Your money beautifully organized now across every device. And thanks to Copilot Money for supporting the Apple Insider Podcast. But how about this? Having described basically an infinitely powerful enterprise like, that's not enterprise as in corporate, enterprise as in Starship, like phone, this feels a little bit dull. But the iPhone 17e is now expected to launch in February. Does that excite you anymore? Do you believe the February launch?
The 16E came out in February, which was kind of a surprise. And I think the 17E will continue that. I see no reason why not. I mean, at the latest, early March, depending on just how things line up, supply chain, everything like that. But it makes sense. It's coming soon. And it kind of brings the question of, if Apple is going to do this new twice-a-year cycle, is the 18E going to come out in February? Is the budget phone going to come out in February? Right?
Yeah.
The 18 base model, or is it going to be 18? Is it going to be Pro Max in September, Fold in October, 18E in February, and then 18 in March, April? The more I think about it, the more I think that this new schedule probably isn't going to happen. But I'll say it again: if the Fold doesn't happen, the schedule is not changing. But February for now does make sense.
What do you think the 17E can bring that the 16E doesn't already have?
It'll just be a new chipset.
Right, so still no MagSafe?
Well, there was enough of I wouldn't say outcry, but the people pointed out, like, hey, MagSafe's important to us. This is silly. Even Android is now incorporating it for the first time this year, and this is the year you remove it from one of your phones. What are you doing? So yeah. I could see that being enough to push it over the edge and make it a better buy, but Apple won't do it unless it's within the margins. So we'll see. So
we're expecting the iPhone 17e in February-ish. It's always been said to be spring if it's coming at all. February seems, like you say, a decent time. Some point then, maybe now, in the next weeks, months, we also have something big, which is the fact that Goldman Sachs is gone from Apple Card and JP Morgan Chase is in instead. It's taken an extraordinarily long time for this changeover to happen. I mean, is it 2 years or more since we learnt that Goldman Sachs really I think, profanely wish they hadn't got into bed with Apple. And we thought Barclays were going to come in, a UK-based firm. We thought Chase was in the lead. Now Chase has got it and things. Are you surprised that anyone wants Apple Card after Goldman Sachs had such a bad time?
Well, it's a complicated situation. I think Goldman Sachs it's one of those things where they entered a partnership with Apple on one end of the company while the other end of the company was discussing getting out of the consumer business entirely. And it just so happens the deal on Apple Card closed just as they were talking about, do we even want this, what is it called, Mark something? Do we even want this brand anymore? Do we even want to support consumer credit cards anymore? And Marcus, I think. So they were backing out of that. They were ending all, I think, even savings accounts and stuff. And meanwhile, they're supporting Apple Card and Apple Savings and tanking as far as income goes because of how Apple has set up this card. You pay at the end of the month. You're incentivized to pay as you go. The way the card is set up, it helps users, but also apparently, according to industry analysts, it's actually a card where people more often are delinquent for some reason versus other consumer cards. Even though Apple's guidelines and Goldman Sachs's acceptance rate was actually very low and it was difficult to get into, I couldn't get Apple Card at first. I had to pay off some debts. So it's not the easiest card to get, but even then people are getting are missing payments on it. So I don't understand the problem here, but it is a credit card. This is the kind of stuff you get into. You kind of want people to not make payments every month because you make money on the interest, but it seems like people just didn't make payments at all, which is a different problem.
See. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so it's complicated. I think they racked up something like $30 billion in like just not losses, but that is the amount of debt that has been taken out from Apple Card. And they're basically selling it at a $1 billion discount.
Yes.
So that's interesting.
I'm curious to know about, I didn't know that about people not paying at all, because I did know that Goldman Sachs had gone to some lengths to get out of consumer credit. And the only other example is they had a GM card. I thought they had Ford, but apparently just GM, and that also wasn't working out. And I'm thinking, did they make a bad deal with Apple? Did they make a bad deal with GM as well? Were they just rubbish at their deals? It's
the consumer credit card market. On top of the fact that the Apple Card is like a 30% APR, which is it's like 28.8%. It's disgusting. It's near the legal limit in the United States, which I believe is like 32 or 33%. Okay. If you collect interest on Apple Card, it is just straight up disgusting. Which I'm happy to say I've never collected interest on the Apple Card. I pay it off every month. Do that. That's the way to do Apple Card. Never keep a balance. Unless, there are interest-free options, obviously, and I take advantage of those. But yeah, never keep a balance and pay interest on it. It's just awful. But that's the problem in the United States and globally is credit has become a very terrible business in the last couple of decades. It started out, it's always been kind of we're going to prey on the poor and make sure they stay poor kind of thing of like keeping people in debt and all that stuff. But it's gotten worse in the recent decade to the point that people are just opening up accounts, using them and not paying them and letting them go to collections on purpose. So it's pretty rough out there. And being in this industry can lead to a lot of losses, but then you're in the industry of lawsuits, collections, and ultimately maybe profit, but that's the business you're in. And I don't think Goldman Sachs wants to do that. Whereas JP Morgan Chase is running many consumer cards. I believe they are more global than Goldman Sachs. You might even be able to get a Chase card in the UK. I don't know.
I believe so, actually, yeah. And that raises, I think, you said globally, 2019 you got your Apple Card. That's when anybody got theirs. And Tim Cook said it was rolling out to other countries. And here we are, 2026. It hasn't. This could be when it does. This episode is brought to you by Anti-Gravity and its Anti-Gravity A1 drone. If you want a drone, whether it's your first one or you're an experienced drone filmmaker, buy this one. It's only an 8K video camera and a 360-degree one. This is special. Anti-Gravity has worked with Insta360 and many other firms to bring this 360-degree 8K video drone and create a new way of controlling drones as well. Because you fly the Anti-Gravity A1 with a new control that's more like a trigger you hold in one hand. So instead of a traditional pair of joysticks, you use what's called the grip control, and you just kind of point the trigger where you want it to go, and that is where your drone will fly. And what's really special is that as you fly this drone with this grip control, you also wear a set of goggles that show you everything. That 360-degree view the drone can film, you can see it in the goggles, live, all of it. No more guessing where the best angle to film is, you can just see it. The Anti-Gravity A1 drone plus cameras plus goggles plus the trigger control starts at $1,599. The Anti-Gravity A1 is the world's first 8K 360 drone. It's genuinely a game changer. You get full immersive flight with the goggles, insanely intuitive controls, and then endless creative freedom in editing. If you're thinking about buying a drone, seriously, make it this one. Check out the link in our show notes to learn more, and thanks to Anti-Gravity for supporting the Apple Insider Podcast. This episode is brought to you by Tempo, fresh, balanced meals that are delivered to your door. And okay, since it's just you and me here, I'll tell you this. My office chair collapsed under me over Christmas. It's kind of hard not to question your eating habits when something like that happens, but I don't think I can entirely blame myself or chocolate, because exactly like you, right? Between work, travel, and possibly the occasional gym trip, but don't press me on that. I'm just rushing all the time. You're rushing all the time. I have even had family meetings on the phone while racing to cook tonight's dinner and prep for tomorrow. And you know what happens. The cooking and the preparation, they're the first to go. And they take with them any chance of healthy eating. But Tempo provides these healthy meals that you can eat in 2 minutes. You don't have to default to snacks or whisper it, takeout every night. Tempo delivers nutrient-packed meals that are already cooked. It delivers fresh, chef-crafted, dietitian-approved meals right to your door. Whether it's for lunch or whether it's for dinner, the portions are just right, and this is real food. It's also real food in 20 new recipes every week. Maria Sharapova swears by Tempo, and even if you're less an athlete like her and more constantly at the desk type like me, there is a Tempo meal for you. For a limited time, Tempo is offering my listeners 60% off your first box. Go to tempomeals.com/AppleInsider. That's tempomeals.com/AppleInsider for 60% off your first box. tempomeals.com/AppleInsider. Rules and restrictions may apply, but thanks to Tempo for supporting the Apple Insider Podcast.
Every failure of Apple Card is on Goldman Sachs. Basically, they gave up the minute it launched. That's why we've never seen any real promotions. We've never seen anything other than the 1%, 2%, 3% system where every now and then a new store would join for 6 months and then come off. You get these little deals, but it never evolved into a full point system. It never evolved into anything more competitive. And as the industry got more and more competitive, Apple Card stayed the same and stayed local. And that is a failure of Goldman Sachs. And I think that will change under Chase. But to fix something I said earlier, Goldman Sachs had $20 billion of outstanding balances and sold it for $19 billion. So that's interesting.
Just unimaginable numbers. But Joe, I was actually quite excited about this move because I believed I wanted an Apple Card, and no question I will pay off every month. I'm conscious that if you don't, it's a bad thing. But I hadn't appreciated how bad a thing it was, and that Apple was really pushing at the edge there. So that's made me a little bit wary, but we have at least a while to find out.
The system To be clear, I use Apple Card for literally every purchase possible because
Hmm.
I understand that if you're a credit card person, like I've listened to these types of people have these discussions before. On average, you're expected to have between 5 and 6 credit cards as an adult. You can get up to 20 or 30 credit cards
Wow.
if
Okay.
you're good enough at it. And it is a full-time job once you get that many. But once you're doing it, you can start living like a king kind of thing. Like this is one of those like life hacky things. I don't recommend anyone listening to the show
Mm.
get anywhere near that or try that. It is very dangerous financially. You could be in ruin very easily. But I've heard of these like super credit card users that have so many cards, and they're like, I use this one for coffee, I use this one for travel, I use this one
Yeah.
exclusively for media, and it gets me all of these points in these ways and these discounts, and I'm basically living free off of airline miles at this point. And it's like, cool, good for you. I'm never going to do that.
No.
Um, for me, I've spent years paying off debts and whittling down the number of cards I have to the point now that I have very few. And so I don't have a competitive card, and I honestly don't want one. And I'm happy with Apple Card, so you don't have to at me. But we, as a family, so Natalie and I have a joint Apple Card account, and it is our same as Cash Card. We get food, we get gas. If we go out to eat, we pay with it. If I buy something on iTunes, I buy it with it. Like it is our card for everything. I have my water bill come off of it. My car insurance gets paid on it. Everything except the electric bill because they charge you for credit card fees for whatever. So
Right.
literally
Mm.
everything I can other than like my rent and my electric company are on the Apple Card, and I just use my income to zero out the balance over the next 30 days. And it's a constant rotating cycle of doing that. Pay bills, pay a card, pay bills, pay card, but it's turned into quite a useful system. And in doing so, and especially over the last couple of years, as we increasingly transition to this being our same as like our literal only budgeting card, the wallet app's interface has become incredibly useful because that ring that shows you how much you've spent, how much you owe, what you're spending it on, the categories that it goes to. It's a budgeting app built into Apple Wallet, made by Apple. It's beautiful and simplistic and easy to budget with, and I've very much enjoyed it.
I've got to say, I'm more and more impressed with Wallet. I mean, last year when I was back traveling more, the fact that it would surface tickets and all that stuff, but then just over Christmas, I was using the orders stuff for it, and all very well done. I can't have an Apple Card, so I can't use it for that. But in fact, I have to have a credit card for certain financial things I'm doing on and credit limit checks and stuff like that. But I don't use it. I have a zero balance credit card and I haven't used it in ages. In fact, I should use it once in a
The
while to
United,
kind of kick the tires.
the United States is notorious for being very heavily dependent on credit card use. So
Yeah.
that's not unusual. I will say I agree with you. Apple Wallet's an interesting app. It's actually well made. It's one of the few things that have skeuomorphism still part of it because it's displaying representations of physical cards laid out
Oh,
like a
yes.
wallet, which is very interesting considering, I mean, it might be the last skeuomorphic app, correct me if I'm wrong, other than maybe a calculator. But I think it's time for a design change. I don't think we should get rid of the stacked cards, but I think we need more design, more buttons, maybe a tab bar, because there should be a card section, an orders section,
Yes.
and maybe an ID section. Like here's your driver's license, passport, that type of information. We need tabs. Just bring tabs to Wallet. Give us some sections. There should be a wallet store somewhere where I can see. I've tried this again recently. And I was like, what apps support Apple Wallet? It is impossible to find out without just knowing intuitively. There's Reddit, our wallet, or I'm sorry, r/Apple Wallet, I think,
All
Apple
right.
underscore wallet. And they have a running list of every app that they found works with Apple Wallet, which was useful, but it's not all inclusive. It doesn't have my local grocery store rewards card, for example. Square offers the ability for cashiers to create rewards cards for Apple Wallet, for example, and my local tap house has a rewards program that works through Apple Wallet. So it's not all inclusive, but it's a start. I think more companies should be relying on this. I think more Apple should be pushing it more. I made the joke recently that Apple needs to get a Mafia division where they go from developer to developer and saying, I'd hate to see what would happen if you didn't adopt this feature.
Okay. I'm with you on the redesign, because the reason I've only just started using Audacity is I didn't know it was there until just before Christmas, and I tapped on the ellipses button top left, and there it was. And since then, didn't get it. No. But speaking of Apple design things that I've just started using, as of last night, I'm finally using Sleep Score in Apple Health, and apparently I slept very well. So that's nice. I felt encouraged somehow. But one of the things that put it in my mind was, people talking about sleep in general, but also in the last week, ChatGPT has a connection with Apple Health. And all I know is there are reasons not to use it. Do you know what it does and why you should or shouldn't?
It's frustrating because so many people see this and say, Apple is working with ChatGPT to bring Apple Health to AI. That is not what happened. ChatGPT has, this is key number. Tell me if you find the problem with this sentence. We've noticed that many of our users use ChatGPT to discuss health issues and upload a lot of personal information about their health. How would they?
Lots of problems there. Sorry.
Yeah. First of all, they know that. Okay, so they know that users are uploading that data and how they're using it. So put that aside. So we released this new feature that lets you directly interface with ChatGPT in a separate conversation where you can upload your health information from Apple Health and other resources like MyFitnessPal, which, by the way, is a privacy nightmare. Never use that app. I stopped using them a decade ago. I remember that being the go-to place, and it was just a catastrophe of privacy, and I've just never looked back. But yes, you can connect your Apple Health or MyFitnessPal to ChatGPT and have it analyze it and give you feedback instead of having to consult a doctor or something. I don't know. First off, they are very clear about the fact that they're not telling you what they're doing with this data. No, it is notable that this feature is not available in any country with proper regulation on health data, by the way, which is not the United States. We do not have any regulations preventing the sharing or uploading of user data about health. So if you do this in the United States, there is nothing to protect you or your health information as you upload it to ChatGPT. And if, say, let's for example, we had a discussion on the show, I don't know, 3 months ago, 6 months ago, about people uploading entire medical health records and it becoming available through a local link or a public link because they shared it with someone on ChatGPT. Yeah. Let's just give them all of our health data. No, don't do it. Just ignore this feature. Honestly, delete ChatGPT off your phone. I don't even know why it's on there.
Well, I'm still using ChatGPT via Siri and shortcuts, which I believe is safe, but
yes, it's fine.
Yeah. Okay.
At least they say it's fine. Apple has it in ink that they are not allowed to use the data, train on it, or it's meant to be discarded the moment it is used to provide information to the user, but nothing remains afterwards. And that, again, is in writing through a contract with Apple. Nobody can really guarantee that, but I'll take their word for it on that one, because at the very least, Apple is trustworthy in this department.
Yes, I feel not quite foolish, something slightly less, like 70% foolish, trusting Apple, because it is just a corporation like any others. But compared to the rest, yeah, exactly. And if Apple does something wrong in privacy, it's just doom for them. Yeah, they're so heavy on it.
When was the last time someone mentioned the celebrity photo leak?
Oh, goodness, I'd forgotten about that one.
And that had nothing to do with Apple, by the way. I know that's very confusing to people, but that was a phishing scheme. But the whole thing is wild to me. I understand. Like, again, you've listened to me on the show before. I'm not against these tools existing. I think that generative tools like this AI stuff, Apple Intelligence, like it has its uses and its places, but you have to be intelligent about how you're using it. And this is not an intelligent way to use these tools because it is a privacy nightmare and you're asking for trouble. A teenager recently overdosed talking to ChatGPT about medication use. Now, I will be clear, this was illicit use. They were trying to find better ways to get high, but they followed the instructions and overdosed and died. So,
Goodness.
just saying, these things they're not intelligent. They're not a doctor. They're just regurgitating information. And usually what the user says is just coming right back at them. It's like you're talking to a mirror. And with your health, can you really trust it with that? I mean, it's a good data parser. It will take the information in and spit it back out in a way that is understandable as long as it's not hallucinating. But how do you know it's not hallucinating without knowing the data is good yourself, by the way? But that is useful. But that is why I will sit here and say when Apple releases their Health Plus initiative and has Apple Intelligence behind Apple Health, that will be a trustworthy, useful system because it will be local, it will be private, secure, it will be your data in your control, and it will theoretically be limited to the data it can provide there and only linking out when necessary. But again, as I've read how this works, it's only able to link to official sources. It has a limited database and it can't offer any medical advice. So if I was going to do this with health at all, I would wait for Apple's option and stay far away from ChatGPT.
AI. What is it good for? Absolutely. Anyway, okay. For some reason, that story about getting advice for it reminds me slightly off tangent. Pull me back. 30 years ago, a friend was running one of those advice columns in a computer magazine, a PC magazine, and he was way behind. And he finally got something that had been sent in 6 months before. And in reading through, this person saying they were going to try this or that with their PC, and he realised they could die for it. So he tracked them and found them and then got round to it either. These days, at least you can get bad information instantly. So that's an improvement.
Let me put it in a different context. ChatGPT is a large language model generative AI system that was trained on mass amounts of data scraped from the web. What is the most popular, most problematic, most extensive source of health information on the web?
Oh, no.
WebMD.
Oh, really? Okay. I mean, I've heard of it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, WebMD is the website where if you go to Google and you say, I have this bump on my hand, it'll say you have cancer almost perfectly every time.
Right. I shouldn't laugh, but okay.
No, it's seriously, it is a collection of data. WebMD, again, is a useful encyclopedia of knowledge about health, right? You can find like various images of rashes or things or ask questions and try to find information. The problem with that is, especially to a hypochondriac, is everything looks like everything.
Yeah.
And so when you try to describe something to Google or to WebMD, the result will almost always point to a deadly disease. And you're like, I have all those symptoms. I'm dying. And it's become a running joke at this point that if you Google something, it'll be cancer because WebMD's number one go-to is, well, it could be this, or don't rule out cancer is pretty much always in there. And it's imagine that training your AI to analyze your sugar intake and tell me what you think the results are going to be.
Okay, let's break away from this because you've just put this in my head. We have people trusting ChatGPT, people investigating it, doing all sorts of things, and it doesn't appear to be right. There is a thing going on at the moment, particularly this week, about Apple Vision Pro, where there are two sides. There's a piece in fact, did you write this in AppleInsider? Analysts need the Vision Pro to be a flop, but Apple may or may not consider it to be one. Why do analysts believe it's a flop?
So it's a continued conversation about Apple Vision Pro since its launch. And the question remains, we can discuss iPhone being a success, or iPad or Mac, or even Apple TV being a success, because we have some ability to understand Apple's goal and success metrics. Those are all mass market devices. They're meant to sell in millions, if not billions of units per quarter, and their revenue that is at least observable from their reports and the way Apple discusses these products, it's very clear that not only do they have a success metric, but they're meeting those success metrics. So when we discuss those products, it's okay to say, yeah, this iPhone is doing particularly well or not, or what have you. Apple Vision Pro is separate from these. It's not broken out. It's a part of the wearables category, and it is discussed separately as a product entirely across everything Apple ever brings up about it. But when it was launched, it was announced as a vision of the future that you could buy today for a lot of money. And Apple, Tim Cook themselves said, hey, this is going to be a niche product, but it is a necessary starting point for the future of spatial computing. That has always been the framing. So what are the success metrics for the Apple Vision Pro? And the thing is we don't know, because Apple has never provided them. The only framing we have is it's an early adopter product that is expensive and not expected to sell in any large quantities. So given that, why is it every time any kind of sale number is hinted at, analysts call it a flop? So this story in particular is from the Financial Times, and they said that they have a whiff of information. Now, they listed a dozen metrics from across the past couple of years of Apple Vision Pro being in existence. One of them being this company basically ceasing production in January 2025 of Apple Vision Pro headsets. But they failed to mention that Apple stopped using them and moved Apple Vision Pro production to India for the M5 model, right? Yeah, you're going to stop production on the machine. You're making a new one and you're moving it to India.
Okay, that
right?
seems... Yes.
But the primary metric that they had that was actually new information, ignoring all the other silliness, because we've discussed it ad nauseum here, Apple managed to sell apparently around 45,000 Apple Vision Pro units in the holiday quarter of 2025. That's after the M5 was launched. Now, 45,000, when you compare it to a billion iPhones, right? Sounds like an abysmal number. To any calculator, that's like, oh yeah, that is an abject failure. But the question is what is the success metric, right? These things sell at $3,500 a piece, which means that at a minimum, without storage upgrades considered, Apple made $157 million in revenue that quarter from Apple Vision Pro. It would take Meta selling 425,000 Meta Quests to make up that number.
Well, how about this though? You said early adopter, necessary first step, but that necessary first step, it was announced in June 2023. Isn't a metric that we haven't had a further release beyond the M5 update?
Well, I think the M5 is proof in the pudding. If this was truly a failed product that needed to go back to the drawing board, the M5 never would have made it out of production.
Unless they just have a lot of M5s knocked around, or not enough M4s. But then not enough M4s means they were selling enough to need to. Okay, slightly circular out of me there.
Yeah, but the point is we don't know. No. I mean, maybe it was too late. Maybe they were already making M5s, and this is a sunk cost fallacy where they have to sell what they already made, and they have to announce the M5, and it's such a failure. They're already There's no indication of any of that. We're getting these Lakers games soon. Apple is heavily investing in the distribution and creation of media for this platform. The only thing that seems to still be at a standstill is developer adoption, but this product line is not going anywhere. And Apple still talks about it. I mean, of course they have to, but they still talk about it very highly. But $157 million is not nothing. Right? That doesn't. No. And here's the deal. what is the success metric? The whole point of this article was to, first of all, the Financial Times is being a little silly. 45,000 Apple Vision Pro units is enough money to make 1/10 of the revenue Meta made in its entirety
Right.
on all VR, not just one headset. It's selling 2 headsets right now, brand new, and all of its software and everything in between. Meta made $1 billion in that quarter. Apple Vision Pro made 1/10 of that in the same quarter with its quote-unquote failed headset in an impenetrable VR market that is niche. No one is really buying these headsets. Not really. Meta's the only one actually selling them, and Apple still sold 1/10 of the market. And you're telling me that's a failure, right? So what is the success metric? Let's ignore all these numbers and take it back to square one and say, what is the point of Vision Pro? It's to get it in the market, to let users use it and share feedback so they can make it better. I think selling somewhere over 1 million units and then selling 45,000 more with a second iteration immediately, I think they're doing fine.
Okay, you're very convincing. Not to the point where I'll go out and buy one, but you are convincing. But you did then say, you mentioned about products going away, and that brings me to the pretty much the last thing I want to talk to you about. Well, do I want to talk to you about it or not? I've started now, I'll finish. Products that go away. Over Christmas break, AppleInsider ran lots of features about how each of the writers on the site work, and your desk tour does not show a Mac Mini anymore. Explain yourself, sir.
It's hidden. It is actually on my podcasting desk. It's underneath that little Mac Plus guy.
Oh, okay. All right.
But I don't use it. So, we're podcasting right now from an iPad. We have been since this update came along and gave us gain control last year. And there have been no issues so far, except one. We ran into a slight issue during our extended recording session for the holiday period where Riverside failed, which caused the call recording to fail, which caused everything to crash, and which was fine. My file still saved, but something in that wonkiness broke the recording session. And even though I hit record and it showed recording, nothing was saved. So the back half of that had to be pulled from a backup, which was fine. That's the point of backups. And lesson learned. Next time a crash happens, reboot. But yes, it's been pretty flawless so far. Honestly, I would expect similar problems to happen on a Mac. Maybe QuickTime's a little more reliable, obviously, than a system program. But anyway, Mac Minis virtually. I wouldn't say useless. I just don't currently have a use for it. So it's kind of sitting there being cute.
Can I just say, since you said podcast being good on iPad, it's iPad at your end, but just to make up for it, I'm using 2 Macs at this end. I felt that was necessary. Okay.
You went and found the old one in the basement and turned it on just to put the right energy in the world.
Yeah, that's better than the truth. We'll go with that. I was going to say, one of the things my pieces over the Christmas included the desk and the wide monitor I have, and I've had lots of people emailing me asking what that monitor is. And, I'll reply to you all, honestly, but the short version should be, it's okay. I love the width. It's a Samsung 49-inch Odyssey.
Need more resolution.
I mean, it's better than the monitor I had before that was giving me headaches. So it's good. It's low resolution, and the height is a problem for
what
me.
You're
it's
telling
not quite
me
$100.
Is you're getting a 4th Stream Deck.
Hang on, 1, 2, 3. I've got a virtual 4th Stream Deck, if that counts. But
I saw a very nice keyboard you can buy with a Stream Deck built in that could really snazz up your desk.
I did think about it. Actually, it's about £309 here in the UK. Seriously, look, I looked it up. It's about $350, something like that. It's just where the Stream Deck is where the numeric keypad is on my extended keyboard, and I use the numeric keypad, so be a problem. I also had a feeling that it was better used with a mouse than a trackpad because of just positioning and things, but it did look nice, except it's also a mechanical keyboard, and to my absolute surprise, I realised I really, really like non-mechanical keyboards, those are chiclet ones.
So
Yeah, for a brief moment there. In fact, actually, that was at CES, wasn't it? I said earlier the only thing I was interested in was Samsung's screen. That was the one buyable product that I kind of sat up and thought about for a while, but no.
I really enjoy writing these desk tours. I toured my whole office just for fun. So please let us know what you think of that, and what you think of William's desk. And the other staff at Apple Insider also did their own desk tours. So I encourage everyone to check those out if you didn't see them over the holiday period, because you might have smartly stepped away from some of the news and websites during that period. So I encourage you to go back and check that out. Ours are in the show notes. And if you want to reach out and tell us about our desks and what we're doing right or wrong, and how I need more Macs around, you can reach me, Wes at AppleInsider.com. That's my email. You can go on Blue Sky, hilly.tech, reach out there. I respond to messages, or you can always reply to something I wrote or tag me. There's also Mastodon. You can tag me there. I'll see the notification. I'll respond, but I'm not really active there. And of course, if you want your messages read here on the podcast, you can leave a review on Apple Podcasts. I see that this week we have another update from our young listener, Crosby SW, 5 stars still. They subscribed to our Apple Insider Plus. Yes.
Excellent. Okay.
I'm a little sorry to be taking your money. I'm sure that's, I remember it not being the easiest to come by any amount of money at a younger age, but I appreciate the subscription anyway, and I hope you enjoy our Apple Insider Plus segments. We'll be talking about something here very soon I hope you'll like, but which is Merry Christmas, and they can't wait for the true Apple Intelligence. I agree. That should be fun.
Same. Fingers crossed. Yeah. Any other reviews? Oh, yes, we did. Yeah?
Yes, we got one more review from T2001. This is during the holiday break, but we weren't here, so here it is. We discussed Myst on our review of the year, and they wanted to share. So 5 stars. Let's see. They got a copy of Myst in the 1990s when it first came out, and they got stuck somewhere in the middle of it. And recently, last year, they bought a Meta Quest and purchased the VR version of it, and finally got all the way to the end in just a few weeks. Fantastic game. Graphics are great, and we should try it out as well. I don't have a Quest. I wish it would come to Vision Pro, but there are a million ways to play Myst. It's one of those games that have perpetuated through everything. I believe it's also on iOS and iPadOS, so maybe I'll finally go play it again.
Sorry, that one that you said that was from T2001. Is that the letter T, or is it TEA?
T as in TEA, the drink.
Oh, excellent. There you go. Yeah. After my own heart. There. Thank you very much, T2001.
Yeah, they said they've enjoyed the show since they started listening earlier in the year. Even the political bits, they're fine. Everything gets tied to politics in some way these days anyway. So appreciate the review and the kind words. And yes, if you want to leave a review to be read here, please do so in Apple Podcasts, good or bad. We will share it. And I'm very happy to always hear from you guys enjoying the show. And we are happy to hear your critiques as well. So.
Just now then, you heard a mention of subscribing to us. That's for the Apple Insider Plus version, which, if you are a subscriber, you didn't hear any adverts yet, and you were about to hear the extended one in which we go through what we can expect and what we think will be coming from Apple in 2026. But in the meantime, thank you very much for listening. Thank you to our sponsors, Clean My Mac by MacPort, Copilot Money, Anti-Gravity, and Tempo. Also, Wes, thank you for confusing me over Apple Vision Pro, whether I like it or not, and making me worry about Apple Card. That's good to know. But otherwise, speak to you all next week.
Yep. Talk soon.